Welcome to The Line. I want you to listen to this. It's not a joke. Internet retail giant Amazon.com recently announced that beginning on April 1st, April Fool's Day of this year, the company will add a sales tax to all purchases being shipped to a New Mexico address. Now, how do you feel about this? Is this good for the state's coffers or another burden on you, the taxpayer? Let us know what you think. Get in touch with us here by visiting NewMexicoInFocus.org or find us on Facebook or Twitter. To talk about this and other issues this week, I'm joined at the table by former State Representative Janice Arnold-Jones. Tom Garrity's here from the Garrity Group PR. Former State Senator Eric Griego is with us. And Sophie Martin, she's an attorney and editor of DukeCityFix.com. Janice, according to New Mexico Tax and Rev, the tax will add up to about 7%, about $500,000. We're talking about a lot of dough here. Yeah. A lot of dough. Simple question. I know where you've been on taxes in your traditional life as you were a representative, and now here, of course, you're after representative life. Is this a tax you can support? Do you support this?
Well, actually, I probably supported it, and I think I got to vote on it once.
Okay.
When I was serving, partly because when you do not also tax the outside retailers,
right,
the brick and mortar guys here just die.
That's right.
And so from the time that I served, the debate has been about nexus. Do we tax where it came from, or do we tax where it's delivered to? Mm-hmm. And so while Eric and I were still in the legislature, Amazon started voluntarily doing this.
Right.
And so I'm not even sure we have to pass a bill. I'm really glad that they are doing it, but it is starting to crystallize this debate of nexus. And I think that the nexus you're going to see us, it was my preferred decision, is that it should be taxed where it's delivered.
I see. Interesting. Go ahead, Sophie.
Nexus is a topic that comes up and is I think quite clearly defined in a Supreme Court case from a couple of years ago against BarnesandNoble.com. So Barnes & Noble has retail, at least one retail store in New Mexico. I'm not sure that they have more at this point. Mm-hmm. BarnesandNoble.com tried to make the argument that they were not Barnes & Noble. In fact, they're separate companies. And the Supreme Court said, you know, we see enough of BarnesandNoble.com receiving benefit from the presence of Barnes & Noble here in the state, gift card purchases, returns, all sorts of things like that. So the court looked to sort of define this idea of nexus. What's interesting is that a lot of the push against Amazon to get them to pay gross receipts tax here and to pay taxes in other states, they've just announced Oklahoma and some other states, comes from Walmart. Because Walmart does have stores in the state. They do have to pay tax here, and they're looking to level the playing field for themselves. And that's been true nationwide. Walmart has been a big player in pushing for Amazon to get to have to do the taxing. One other thing that I think is interesting is that in other states in the past, when Amazon has made the decision to start submitting taxes for sales in those states, it has tended to come right around the time that they place a distribution facility in that state. So it's in anticipation of having the nexus. We haven't yet had any announcement that Amazon's going to do that here, but it's interesting that that seems to be where they're going. There are other legal issues for Amazon, and there are two other things that might cause them to find that this is a good time to start paying taxes here. I happen to think it's quite a positive thing.
Considering their growth and what they want to do and deliveries and same-day deliveries and all that, it makes sense to have all these distribution places, as many as all over the country.
Yes, so, we don't always get to have distribution centers like
That's
that,
right.
But
we have a Netflix. We have a mysterious Netflix one.
Yeah.
Eric, question for you. I find this very interesting on this regard. This governor has said for years now she will not have any taxes on this populace happen under her watch. Why should she not just say, hey, you know what, Amazon, we appreciate the effort, but this goes against my philosophy. I don't want any taxes for any New Mexicans here. Why isn't she doing that if taxes are so bad?
Yeah, it's hard to be sort of intellectually consistent and honest, right? I mean, you know, this is a bill that we were talking about. It's been around. I sponsored it back in 2010, I think.
No kidding.
And the nexus argument wasn't as clear, but it was so, they hired a couple of really strong lobbyists to sort of just kind of muddy up the waters. Right. And by the time it got to the floor, people were, and it wasn't even an ideological issue about raising people's taxes. It was, you know, the legal issue has not been resolved. Had we done it back in, and by the way, others had sponsored it before. Had we done it back about 10 years ago when people first started talking about this, we're talking about not just all of our deficit now, but lots of money for early childhood and a lot of other things we talked about. So, and the other big argument, I think we tried to get the small business community organized, but this is really a huge disadvantage for small local businesses who, by the way, who are paying, and people have to remember, these are not just state taxes, these are local taxes for police
That's right.
and fire and all of the services that we need. When an out-of-state online vendor doesn't have to pay those, essentially the rest of us either have to deal with less services, less police, and so on, or you have to level the playing field. So I think it's a great development. I'm actually glad Amazon got in front of it. So I hope the governor.
Just
well,
pave the.
I
Does
don't
it
think the
pave the
governor's
road?
going to sign the
I don't
bill.
think she-
There's no
yeah.
reason to.
Right, exactly.
And so, and without any reason to sign it, then she hasn't raised taxes, but they have decided to voluntarily contribute.
Right. Well, how does this change the playing field for other tax ideas that are out there? Does this pave the way for to make it easier?
Well, one of the big debates we've had is how do you level the playing field between small local businesses who overwhelmingly drive our economy,
Right.
and the myriad ways that the big out-of-state corporation, whether it's a big incentives we've been giving them, or there's all sorts of measures, tax policy. A lot of the corporate tax policy really doesn't help little guys here. It helps big.
Right.
Our training program, the JTIP program, which is a great program, except overwhelmingly goes to out-of-state companies. And if you have a small business here and you really want to use it to expand your capacity and to create some jobs, it's the cost to use it are very, very high because that's IRBs. So most of our economic incentives disadvantage the small local guys. So hopefully this will be the beginning of a conversation about how do we really prioritize small local businesses.
That's right. Yeah, Tom, an interesting wrinkle here that I mentioned in the setup is that some of the money is going to go back to the municipalities from whence the purchase was made, meaning if you bought it, if you're in Maljamar or wherever, you know what I mean? A cut of it goes to that municipality. That's an interesting idea when you think about it. What do you make of that? Because I have a follow-up on that.
Yeah, well, when you look at where the money goes,
Right.
Obviously it's not a true, trickle down.
Right.
If they're negotiating at 7%, it's higher up in Santa Fe than it is in Silver City, than it is in Las Cruces. So you have all these different codes and stuff. So, I think it's a good outreach, but, still the counties are not going to be able to be made whole as a result of whatever deal has been negotiated.
Now, who wins out here? Let's think about this. Ostensibly, the idea is if you live in an area where you don't have a lot of choice, the Amazons of the world is perfect. You can get stuff delivered to your door. But does a place like Albuquerque actually win out more, or is it more rural areas here that win out on this thing? Do you know what I mean? To the rich go the rich, come the spoils, so to speak?
Well, it depends whose ox is getting gored, so to speak.
Yeah.
Here's the case in point. When Amazon has lost a ton of money in delivering to rural areas,
Okay.
Because the cost for shipping is a lot more expensive to rural New Mexico.
Yeah.
So there's the cost of delivery, and the delivery
enough,
of the
right.
postal services.
Until the
FedEx.
drones come, but
Yeah,
right.
of course, the drone service. I'm not waiting on that a whole lot. But so that's one thing that you have to keep in mind is the expense to Amazon, but also the wear and tear on the roads in New Mexico. And we all know that rural economic development has really been hampered, if not killed, because of lack of adequate road transportation. So, my personal preference is that as much money goes to rehabilitate rural roadways as possible. The other big challenge here is that a lot of New Mexico residents, myself included, have gotten really comfortable sitting in front of the computer and clicking, and doing our shopping for retail business online. And that's really, to Eric's point, that has really decimated the small retail business because they've not been able to find a way to stay and remain relevant in this new internet economy. So, will this level the playing field? Probably not, because the habits have already been formed of going and doing that shopping and have FedEx or UPS or someone just deliver it right to your doorstep.
Right.
I think it's worth noting, sort of building on what Thomas just said, I think it's worth noting that Amazon's customer profile is actually a fairly wealthy profile. It's an older profile. So when we look at the demographics for Amazon, we see this bump that's of people in their 40s and 50s, to a certain extent 60s and older, really embracing Amazon. 20% of Amazon users, and this tends to skew older, that are involved in Amazon Prime, pay basically $100, $99 a year for 2-day delivery. That's an older cohort. So when we think about taxes falling on New Mexico, if we look at least at the national demographic for the Amazon user, they're wealthier, a bit older than, say, the Walmart.com user. And they are probably better, in the aggregate, better able to handle the cost of the tax than if, say, we were taxing food.
Gotcha.
So when we look at sort of being strategic about taxes, it's not through any any strategery on our part that Amazon is actually kind of a nice tax base to be looking at.
That's right.
But it's actually a group that's less likely to be harmed than many other people in New Mexico.
Let's talk about harm. I'll go back to Tom here for a quick second. Something that caught my eye this week as well. One of our oldest cab companies here is closing. And we can directly attribute that to a ride-sharing economy of Uber and Lyft that's here now. So once again, we're in that winners and losers kind of a thing, Tom Garrity. How's this work for you with this cab company?
Winners are in-town residents who have never really used the cab company. The losers are the visitor industry and hotels because I've definitely flown into the Sunport when it's been really snowy and I just didn't want to deal with the roads, and the cabs were always there.
That's right.
Now we've got one less cab company, and Uber drivers don't necessarily want to drive when the weather's inclement. So it'll be interesting to see the ramifications of this. I have seen in New York on a recent visit there where a lot of the cab companies are really developing their own rideshare services now to basically hail an app. So perhaps that will catch on in the larger cities. Albuquerque, I'm not so sure.
I'll tell you, a yellow cab here, so it's this green cab, this yellow cab. Yellow cab, Janice Arnold Jones, actually has that. They send you a text when you call for a cab. You can hit the link to track your cab. And it always sort of makes me laugh a little bit because they had plenty of time to have this application before. It didn't happen before Uber showed up, and now they have this stuff. It's a competitive world, isn't it? It's very difficult.
It is competitive, but I don't want to let PRC off the hook here.
Okay.
Because the cab companies are regulated by the PRC.
Right.
And one of the things that has happened in transportation early on with the PRC, when we were just developing like Shuttlejack, in order to have a competitor, they had to prove that Shuttlejack wasn't doing their job.
I see.
Talk about stifling competition. Competition is good, and so you have to keep up. But this is a little bit akin like the tug with CenturyLink, who has all the landlines, and versus Comcast and the wireless company.
Right.
And so our own structure actually kind of set the cab company up to not be competitive. How sad is that?
You described it perfectly. That's the perfect analogy, actually. That was actually well done. I was in Los Angeles last July for a trip, took a lot of Ubers. It's interesting. A lot of the drivers were ex-cabbies. And they were telling me that, this was last July, of course, that in the calendar year of 2017, every one of them anticipated a Los Angeles cab company going down for the count.
Wow.
They were just ready for it, It's happening all over the country, Eric. Should we be surprised here in New Mexico? We're not a big cab city, but cabs count for something. They're going to lay off 70 people here. That's a lot of people,
I was born and raised here, and I've lived in some other cities where you use cabs, and they're much more sort of user-friendly, and there's not as much of a monopoly and so on. But I've had a terrible experience with local cab companies. We can talk about whether that's regulation or just, but while I'm torn about the Uber model, which really, is not really the preferred model in terms of pay and benefits and so on, and hopefully with some of the changes that have recently happened, that's going to get better. I think it's a great example of how we can put some pressure from a consumer side on getting what we need. I also think it has a huge implication for things like DWI. I mean, one of the problems in this town has been the lack of alternatives, and so people make bad choices, but Ubers are everywhere else in bigger cities that they have become sort of the transport of choice, and if you have a great private cab system that works, hallelujah. We have never had one that has worked. I've waited multiple times at this airport before pre-Uber for cabs, and I've had relatives and friends and colleagues, and the stories have never been good about really having a cab ready. So. But having said all that, I think Uber's has to really decide if they're going to really up the ante in terms of employment practices and pay and benefits and so on. And hopefully we can sort of put some pressure on them as a country to do that.
On your point about DUI, you talk to these Uber drivers, you know where they make good money? Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings,
sure do.
early.
They
People
sure
going
do.
back to get their vehicles because they were too drunk to drive the night before. It's amazing. Now, when we come back, the line returns to discuss some of the issues being tackled in this legislative session.